Good morning, dear dogs. We are here for remembering about an article written in 2004, 2004, September 10, for remembering about Al Qaeda. It's a series of videos about talking what that Juan Carlos wrote on that day, 21 years ago, and we are having now Al Qaeda. It's interesting having a look about the past, about the ideas were written by oneself, by myself, on that day. We have Al Qaeda, 1,000 million of Muslims in the world, the sixth part of the humanity. Islam civilization was brought at the 7th century by Muhammad Prophet. He was a commercial in Mecca when he was illuminated by Gabriel Archangel. He thought that he needed to start a new religion to satisfy God and to suppress the local idolatry. They were pushed by Mecca leaders that had his business in risk by new monotheistic weapon, the monotheistic religion that was called by the Hijra, the beginning of Islam. Sometime they were under Abyssinian emperor, a Christian leader. He is responsible that Islam survived. Young Islam negotiated a 10-year peace time when Muslims live in Medina, the real Islamic system. That peace was broken by Muslims because they had brought strong enough to defeat Mecca. That is the way of Islam, and fundamentalists say to return to that system. After that, Islam divided into, after Muhammad's death, the temporal power to religious leaders, defenders, ones, the so-called Chiis, the Chiism, and the supporters of royal power separated from the clerical institutions, a separation without a smart division line. The Sunnis is Sunnism. Islamic power gave question to all Arabia, a big union under Islam, but they extended to many other lands. In the east and in the west, he created many powerful centers of power, like Cordoba, Damascus, Baghdad, Delhi, Cairo. A big fight Christian Islam was being played. And there comes Crusades. Muslims had entered in Byzantine Empire to conquest it, and entered in Iberian Peninsula, till Poitiers, in the middle of France, Muslim ships also entered into Thames River in those days. Crusades are a strike back, in retrospective, to defend the West of Muslims. Who believes in the helping hand to Byzantine Empire, explaining theory? In Western military classical texts, it is said that the better defense is an attack. In the heart of Islam, it was not its heart, but it was, as we could say, a Christian aircraft carrier in Islamic hands. 2 centuries later, it crushed the whole Latin hands, the whole Latin lands also in Holy Land. It could have contributed to preserve and let us be as we are now, Westerns, not Islamic. Muslim power had a grand hit in the 16th century with the Ottoman Empire. In 1453, with a new weapon called cannon, the Ottomans conquered Constantinople, the future Istanbul, the gate to the routes to the east to Europeans, because Muslim lands were problematic enough and unsecured. that Europeans preferred to go by another way. That ends of the Byzantine Empire made the search of another route for the Fast East a need and made finally Columbus' trip real in 1492. It was the end of the Middle Ages, almost in Europe. In the Islamic lands, terrorist attacks of pirates were made. And Spanish leader Charles V, Emperor of Germany and Spain, conquered places in north of Africa to prevent the attacks, like Ceuta, Melilla, Oran, or Ariel. He also tried to conquer Tunisia, but he failed. Ottoman Empire was real for 4 centuries. Islamic power combining religion, military, and royal power in a political figure called the Caliph. They were close to enter Vienna 2 times. In the past, in the mid 17th century, a little familiar business alerted the city that tunnels were being made to the assault. It was a pastelery. In gratitude of their services, the local leaders led them to create a new product with the Islamic symbol, the croissant. From the 15th century to the 18th century and 19th century, the west side of Europe and its nations, United Kingdom, France, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and the so-called Germany Principality, were growing to become powerful nations that wanted to extend his power worldwide. Muslims were breaking down because of its critical cultural liberties, powerness, because of nothing that could be against the Quran could be investigated or let. Critically, this step made Islamic civilization vulnerable to the West, very poor, to Western Europeans. That is the reason why 19th century is a centurias horribilis in the Muslim world. They fell into France and United Kingdom. They were first of all separated of Ottoman Empire, and after that incorporated into the Western nation as colonies. As Libya was to Italy, Algeria was to France, Egypt was to United Kingdom. The Ottoman Empire and its powers still remained, but corrupted by European hands. As you can see on the trip to buy the Parthenon's friezes in Athens by a British who gave them to British Museum. In the close to independence Greece from Ottoman power. The great Balkanic Peninsula was an Ottoman power land, but I must say that they respected the so-called men of the book, Christians and Jews, because after its march, Croatia is Catholic now, Syria is Orthodox. They lost many of their European land in the 19th century, and in the Balkans wars. In the first decade of the 20th century, Ottoman Empire was close to implode. The leader of Muslims, because there are many Turks in Central Asia and other places that identifies with that state. We have a three-part map on the idea on the Mediterranean Sea about those ages of the birth of Islam, that conquest of Almoravids, the Almoravid area. But we continue with the text. First World War was the end. Turkish wanted to make business with Germans instead of British and French, and entered in the war on that side with Central empires, and that made it fall and be completely defeated and definitely dissolved. Iraq, Jordan, and Palestine were British, Syria and Lebanon French. Ottoman Empire was reduced to Anatolia Peninsula and a little piece of land around Istanbul. A few years later, by a Macedonian leader Khan, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, Turkey was created over Ottoman Empire's rests. A new state was born. The fear of Islamic war ended its life. That is breaking point in the Islamic world, the end of an age. They had to think about again about themselves, with their lands colonized by Europeans and with no future and no hope for Muslims. 1927, Cairo. Muslim Brotherhood Association is born. A first step of reaction to the Western occupation. First idea was to try a secular way through independence and prosperity. They tried it before and after the Second World War. Many radical groups supported Germans in Egypt and Iraq or Iran. Secular way is Nasser way. That was defeated by Israel in the war. This way was presented to the people as a false and unuseful way. In 1944, the League of Muslim States was settled, but the new governments of the new nations they wanted a laicist and Western counted administration were pro-Western. So the so-called origin of their problems, the colonialist nations of Europe and United States of America, the new central power in the world. There was created at that time another way to Islamic way to power and prosperity. One of that way was created in Pakistan with the ideas of al-Maududi, one of the Islamic ideological renovators, al-Maududi. They supported the dictator General Zia that pushed forward an Islamic State in the decade of the 70s. He founded its Quranic madrasas. United States and Soviet Union fought a singular play between 1946 and 1990, the Cold War. The same play that Christians and Muslims played in the past years of the first millennium and the first ones of the second. They tried to win the other in the battlefields of the peripheral wars, where one power pressed the other, supporting one band, one side. There was a step of peace and distension in the latest 70s, but it disappeared. So the invasion of Afghanistan broke it. Soviet Union prospered that in 2000 would have a large Islamic population in their land, principally in Central Asia republics. Close to Iran, Ayatollah Khomeini his revolution. Pakistan, General Zia and its madrasas, and the finance of Saudi Arabians. In 1703, in Arabia was born a new revolution in Islam, Wahhabism, that wanted a radical society, Islamic one, purity, strong right wing of Islam, could it be said. To prevent Islamic growth in Soviet Union, they supported a Soviet group that reached government. United States reached to react certain local allies to combat the Soviets. The only one group that combated USSR were radical Islamists. So United States, Pakistan, Shia, and so far Saudi Arabia and many other Muslims contributed to deploy a big Muslim coalition for a free Afghanistan. Muslims all over the world were called to fight the Soviets for first time since the Middle Ages. And there comes a young city playboy, Western form guy that is member of a large and influent family in Saudi Arabia, Osama bin Laden. He wants to help, and he creates a solidarity net with the former soldiers in Afghanistan and its families, a type of social security for former combatants. In 1988, the war ended. With that tie, Soviets retired, had more problems in their own land to go on supporting the local communist government. there appear some Afghan children separated from war and educated in those Pakistan's madrasas. They were the students in Pashtun Talib, the Taliban. They were the only one force that could give cohesion to a nation that started a civil war in 1992 when the communist government finally fell down. In 1997, Taliban conquered the capital, Kabul city. Only the Northern Alliance resisted in Panjshir Valley. Al Qaeda remained being a solidarity network until the Gulf War. Then Saudi Arabia had the menace of Iraqi invasion. A little uninhabited place in the Gulf was conquered by Iraqis by that time, but Saudis were stronger north to defend them. Saudi government decided to let Americans install bases in the Holy Muslims land. Bin Laden told the king that if the Americans went home, their fellow soldiers would defend Saudi Arabia. The king decided not to consider the offer, and Al Qaeda resolved to transform itself into a combat organization against the United States and the West, and Saudi Arabia, of course, because they are the enemy of the Muslims. So they started to organize themselves into levels, one in their own countries, pressing them to be Islamic governments. Second, internationally pressing the United States of America and other countries to let Muslims search their own way to the beginning, fundamentalists. To maintain a government by Muhammad prophets where religious and political power were united. Osama bin Laden is famous since 1998, published a fatwa calling Muslims to defeat the Western pagans. In 1992, two embassies in the Eastern Africa were bombed in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam. In 2000, USS Cole was bombed by a launch boat. Something was telling the United States that it could happen something in certain future, September 11, but no one heard the advertisement, and it happened. But what Al Qaeda is really? It is a trial of international of terror. It is a decentralized organization where there is no known administration for the up to the down. It cannot be destroyed by conventional war because they are not an army. They do not have the support of any state for now. But if we go on trying to defeat those Saddams, we will affront a real warning against our cities, nation, and civilization. But one thing must be thought. They, the Islamic, have their own global vision. Western civilization has the universalistic pretension, and they want to be proud of themselves in the best country of the world and in the best civilization of the world. They are surely some universal elements that should be taken by all of us, all civilization, all people, all humans, but particularly makes us plural in unity, a United Nations unity. Alternative, they could become powerful, conquest power in Islamic states and make us go on in this Third World War until the victory of one of the two so-called enemies, the Western Alliance and Islamic Coalition. For more information, I recommend you reading these books, Jihad and the Taliban by Ahmed Rashid, Clash of Civilization by Samuel P. Huntington, and The Third World War Has Started by Laurent Duplessis, and The Coming Anarchy by Robert D. Kaplan. That was my approach to Al Qaeda and origins in 2004. And that's my personal opinion on that time, dear docs. So, thank you, and God bless humanity.